Hi everyone, welcome back to Cover, here with Mo,
Andrea,
and Morgan.
And today we want to talk about The Picture of Dorian Gray, Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, which is just as cool as that sounds, books around the world, and we have a question of the week for you guys. But first, a quick update on a story that we covered Monday. Author Lani Sarum has spoken out about her recent issues with the New York Times bestseller list and the media.
Sarum has reported that the Times did not call her or her people to discuss the proposed issues, and they pulled her off the list without due process and investigation.
Furthermore, internet trolls have taken to tanking reviews of her book so that it would dissuade others from buying it in the wake of the scandal. This is not boding well for the author who had planned to turn it into a series and planned it for a movie adaptation as well.
Yeah, so Andrea, I know you got a chance to read a little bit about the controversy that's going on here, and it's so convoluted and really interesting, and I'm not sure how to feel about it.
I know we'll never really know what actually happened, and I know you're feeling bad for Sarum, but from what I've seen, it kind of seems like it was planned. There's a lot of sketchy things on there. If you see the numbers and you look up in Ingram, it just doesn't make sense that, there are no available books, but all these books have been ordered, and there are also sketchy phone calls being made to some of these bookstores asking if they were on the New York Times list, and just things like that, which is kind of weird. I wouldn't go as far as like being an internet troll and trying to tank someone's career if I was upset about this. Yeah, but
isn't it rude how they're just all going in and giving her these 1-star reviews?
Yeah, so she's rude, but they're also rude. I don't want anything.
Incites rudeness.
I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't want anything to do with it.
I think maybe people could have gone in the opposite direction and, really rooted for Angie Thomas and tried to make sure her book is on the bestseller list and she's getting all the credit that she deserves.
Instead of meeting it with further negativity. And I know we were talking about this, even if she did this really shady thing and perhaps she played a big role in all the controversy, I can't help but feel bad for her because as an aspiring writer myself, to see her career tanked before it's even had a chance to take off, maybe she did a bad thing, but she's going to live to regret it maybe for the rest of her life.
And we don't know if it was her or her publisher
who
maybe did this and didn't tell her.
Ugh, it's just a bad situation.
So tell us what you guys think about it. I mean, do you think this is something that she planned, her publishers planned, or what?
Yeah, maybe we'll see some resolution. But speaking of book-to-movie adaptations, which she probably won't have, on the rise is Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. It's getting an artistic makeover with an upcoming adaptation presented by Lionsgate, spearheaded by the creative St. Vincent.
So this upcoming adaptation will play with gender bending. The role of Dorian Gray and character will be played by a woman. Since Oscar Wilde was primarily a man of theater, he might not mind this change very much. So what do you guys think?
I'm personally really excited because you don't often see women getting these really amazing roles, right? A lot of the best characters are men, so it's fun as a woman for us to be able to see ourselves in that role. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, Dorian Gray is kind of a villain, but we were talking about this, that, there aren't a whole lot of women portrayed as villains. I mean, villains are really cool. They're the boss. They're the ones in charge. They're the ones making the calls. And so to see a woman being portrayed in that way is really cool. And I do think Oscar Wilde would be totally down with it. I mean, this is his one novel. He really did a lot of plays, and plays are something that, you can breathe life into in so many different ways. So I think this is a really, really cool thing.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. Yeah, I do. I don't know how I feel about taking an established story, and I've said this before, and just
playing with it.
In such a way.
It's a classic, so there is a little bit of that.
Just come up with something new. Yeah. Basically what it tells me is that they were looking for a movie, so they had to take something else that is already written and try to twist it to fit what's going on in our culture because they think it will sell, instead of wriing something completely new.
Well, no, you've made this point. It's very similar to, flipping fairy tales, like you've said. We've talked about how we're playing with gender bending in fairy tales and switching the hero and the heroine out. So
yeah, and I see what you're saying because there is a lot of unoriginality in Hollywood, especially just reaching for something that's been done before and trying to breathe new life into it. And you also there is a little risk there, I think, with having a woman play this really powerful, very vain character, because we can be stereotyped as being that way anyways. So there is like kind of a fine line they're walking, but I'm really interested to see the outcome.
Yeah, I don't know, personally, I'm a huge fan of Oscar Wilde, and I think during his life, he would have appreciated a little more open-mindedness. I mean, he went through a lot because of people's closed-off minds, and so, I don't know, I personally, I'm not really thinking about the story, I'm thinking about the creator in this, and I think he would love it.
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch.
Lazy. That's all I gotta say. But I might see it on $5 Tuesday.
Yeah, let us know if you guys are interested in it and what you think about it.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool to see. Well, as the tale of Dorian Gray does go, power, youth, beauty, and money can be abused. So today we would like to highlight someone who is doing the opposite of that. Dolly Parton, bless her heart, is using her fame and her sway to spread goodness in the world in the best way possible, with books.
Dolly Parton's Imagination Library is an organization Dolly began back in 1995 to help foster a love of reading for kids in eastern Tennessee, where she grew up. Over the years, the organization has become global and is active in over 1,600 communities around the world. With the help of the communities, the Imagination Library is giving out 1 million books a month to kids.
Oh, wow.
To find out more or to get involved, visit imaginationlibrary.com.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
1 million books around the world to kids.
I love Dolly Parton, and something that I was reading that was really cool, I thought, was she dedicated this to her late father, and before he passed, he told her that this is her biggest accomplishment. In his eyes, this is the most proud she has ever made him, and that's a huge testament. I mean, it is a great nonprofit.
Yeah, and have you guys been to eastern Tennessee?
Yeah, I lived in Memphis for a little while.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But like
Driven
in the Appalachian Mountains, have you been?
Not all of them
Okay,
there.
deep in there. Yeah, so I just think this is great because some of those communities don't have the resources for their libraries or to keep adding books to the library. So
Yeah.
I've spent a number summers like going into these types of communities and doing home repair projects, and so I've seen it. Yeah,
Absolutely. And Dolly Parton experienced a lot of that. I mean, did you guys watch /Cry to A Coat of Many Colors?
Oh,
her Christmas movie. Oh my gosh, she is, I think, the fourth of 12 siblings, and most of the time they didn't have running water, no electricity, nothing. And for her birth, they traded in a sack of oatmeal. That's how they paid for her to be born.
Yeah.
And so her bringing literacy to these communities.
And right to their homes. There's absolutely no excuse. Because some of these people live way up in hollers in the mountains, and it's hard to get into town, or you don't always come to town. So to have it delivered on your doorstep and someone pays for that, I think is great. So way to go, Dolly.
Go, Dolly!
Yeah.
Dolly
Let's all go to
Parton.
Dollywood. And then,
The patron saint of reading. We love her.
Well, right now we have to take a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to discuss the most popular books around the world, and we have a question of the day for you to ponder. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Well, we've talked about an art project that uses a map to demonstrate the reach of literature and literary movements, but today we have found another way to use maps for literature.
Reddit user BackwardForward24 has created a map of the world where each country is represented by the most famous book written there. It's a really interesting way to look at the world and a great way to help you sample some works out there that you may not have read. Taking up the largest space of the U.S. is To Kill a Mockingbird. So what do you guys think about that distinction?
It seems pretty standard at this point, right? Don't you
Yeah.
think? The world is in agreement that To Kill a Mockingbird is one of the greatest books ever written.
I know, I can't imagine if there's a time where, it's off the charts, like we're not allowed to read it. It's something that's...
Or if they phase it out of required reading.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you don't read it in school, if you get too far along, you might just not do it. And it's, it's a good book.
It's very appropriate.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting map, we were saying, for if you have like a trip planned to a foreign country. It's a fun way to say, oh, well, here's the most popular book written in that country, so we should read that to like understand their writing and their culture like a little better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to all of our Canadian friends, Anne of Green Gables!
Yeah, that's a big part of the map, as is Russia with War and Peace, just like all up there.
Yeah.
So check it out and see what countries you visited and what their most popular books are. And if you haven't read them, maybe add it to your TBR list, right? Mm-hmm. All right, well, within the world of popular fiction, that's a pun, mystery and thriller novels have been experiencing a renaissance over at least the last decade or so, right? They're everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we have some new and emerging names in the genre like Gillian Flynn, Paula Hawkins. They're really popular right now. But there's also some veterans still topping the list, such as James Patterson and John Grisham.
So one thing's for sure, though, readers are loving thrillers right now, and the New York Times bestseller list is jam-packed with them.
This week, the top 5 books on the New York Times fiction bestseller list are all thriller mystery books. The #1 bestseller is Seeing Red by Sandra Brown. Brown has been writing novels since the 80s and is no stranger to being on the bestseller list. Her latest book chronicles a TV journalist falling deep into the story she's working on. She's living an adventure, trying to stay alive as she tries to solve a high-profile murder before she becomes the next victim. So, for lovers of thrillers, this is an exciting new book to take in. And with so many thrillers topping bestseller lists these days, it begs the question, what do we love so much about them?
Yeah, it is really interesting. I'm a big fan of mystery and thrillers, and I always have been. And I think for me, the reason is always having something to look forward to, right? You have to get to the end of the book because you have to know what happens. And the whole time, you're making all your own theories, and whether or not they pan out, you get to the end and it's something exciting.
Yeah, I think some really cool things about thriller novels and people who read them are there's a whole psychology. I mean, it's trying to understand the motive, and there's also like a justice system to it. So, I mean, if you're an empathetic person, it might be pretty tough to read a thriller mystery book, but then there's also that piece of you that's like, oh, well, this guy like has to get it. I have to see this come to fruition and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
And you just dig in and understand people. Like some of them do a great job pulling out human psychology on it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a sleuth in your mystery novels? Are you like trying to figure out who did it?
Very much so. I am a sleuth.
I'm all about those theories, so I'm always calculating. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this?
Are you a conspiracy theorist?
I'm not like technically, but I do love hearing about conspiracy theories. Like even if I don't believe in them, I'm like, tell me more. This is fascinating.
I think that's part of it too. We are a culture that loves conspiracy theories and trying to really figure out what's going on behind the scenes, especially in the world of politics, for example.
Yes, very much.
So let us know in the comments if you love thrillers and what your favorite ones are so we can add them to our list and why you think that we as a society are so enamored with them. We'd love to hear what you think about that.
Yes, please do that. And for our last portion of the show this Wednesday, we want to explore a question of the week to wrap up our discussion. Okay, so we love books, obviously. So what we want to know is, if you could live inside of any book, what book would you choose and why?
That's a great question, Mo. So my first thought is I would live inside of some Nicholas Sparks book because I want to live at the beach and that would be wonderful. Maybe The Notebook, so it's... But you know what? I really think I want to see a different time and place.
Yeah.
So there is a ton of books. There's a series on Downton Abbey on the TV show, and it gets into the behind the scenes and history and more about the characters. And I think exploring the early 1900s, I mean, there's tons of books that it's based off of, but those in particular, just because I have this affinity with the Crawleys and love to be part of their family.
Oh, who would you be?
I think I'll just be Mary.
Yeah, you just want to take over the role.
Yes, because she is strong and she tries to take charge and she tries to break cultural norms and she's kind of snooty and I don't know, I just kind of like her.
Yeah, she's really fabulous and very witty. So
Very
she's
witty.
very fun to watch.
And wears great dresses. So.
Yes, the clothes. The clothes are very fun.
I think that's the whole reason I'd want to be in that series and in that time.
Very cool.
To wear her clothes, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, the clothes changed so much over those time periods.
Yeah.
So it has been so cool to watch the show. I haven't read the books, though. I'll have to check those out.
Yeah.
And where would you like to live inside of, Andrea?
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because Chocolate Factory. But But also there's so much more depth to the book. I mean, you can be any color, you can be any age, you can be any size in that book, and I think that is so cool. I think it's such a neat world that Roald Dahl made. And it's definitely something
Yeah, and Andrea is always eating ice cream, so this
Always.
makes sense.
Yes,
Always.
fudge brownie, Ben and Jerry's.
There you go.
So I can maybe make my own, maybe Ben and Jerry's, or maybe they would want to join my chocolate factory.
maybe
I don't
they
know.
would.
This week I saw her pulling out the ice cream, and I said, again?
Yeah.
Really?
I had like a cold a couple days ago, and my roommate found evidence of like my drumstick on the couch or whatever, and was like, "Oh yeah, cured a common cold, drumstick, perfect."
Obviously.
I'm an addict.
Well, that's a perfect choice for you. And the choice that I would make, this was really hard for me because you guys know I'm a big fan of escapist fiction and fantasy. That's kind of my favorite genre. And I went kind of on the lighter side of that, which I kind of shocked myself. I went with Lev Grossman's The Magicians, which on the surface sounds like a really fun fantasy escape book. And let me tell you, it is not. It is really great and everyone should read it. But what's so great about it that makes me want to live inside of it is that it's actually just based in our world. Everything is the same except that there is this addition of magic. And magic is very formal, especially in its education. So you go to a college where you learn magic. And so it has been said, people kind of equate it to the adult Harry Potter, but it is not. It is not the Harry Potter school of magic. It is very rigorous and very book studious, and any person can succeed. You have to have the gift of magic first, but even if you're not very good at it, if you're a good student, you can be a great magician. And so this book delves into the intricacies of just being a normal person who expects magic to be the answer to everything, and what do you do when you discover that magic can't fix anything?
Interesting.
You still have to live with all the bad things in life.
Of course, that brings the big question, why this world over Harry Potter's world?
Yeah, because to me, this is a more gritty realism. So you still have to be the person that you are, but magic just also happens to exist, right? So I think it's cool to still be a part of my world because there's so many places I haven't been. I don't want to leave this place and go somewhere else. I just want to be a part of it. But if I could also have some magic, that's cool.
Do people use magic for good and evil?
Yes, yeah. Okay. There is still some of that, but it's a very gritty story. Okay. So I don't know. I'm just fascinated with it. I want to be there.
Great choice.
Yeah. And you guys, we have discovered a really cool and interesting place where you can actually be able to, in fact, spend some time inside of your favorite books.
Oh.
That's right. The Rabbit Hole will be based out of Kansas City, Missouri, and it's known as an Explorastorium. That's right, Explorastorium. A hybrid bookstore, museum, playground, workshop, and theater, all in one. The project should launch around 2019, so check it out if you're near the area, and of course, let us know what you think about it.
Well, let us know in the comments what book you would like to live in, and let us know if you have any suggestions for future questions of the week, and because we really want you to participate and talk to us about that. And don't forget to share this post for a free t-shirt. When you share the post, send us a message with your size, your mailing address, and your preferred style. We have V-neck and crew neck options.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you have a great rest of your week. I'm Mo.
I'm Andrea.
And I'm Morgan.
And we will be back on Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. So until then, keep reading, writing, and being awesome. I know we will. Bye.
Bye.